In our first story, the opposition New Patriotic Party is questioning the governing NDC's ability to fulfill promises captured in their manifesto launched over the weekend. Addressing a news conference, policy advisor of the NPP, Boakye Ejako, said the NDC could not be trusted owing to failure to achieve similar promises made in the past. The policy advisor said the NDC government over the past 8 years has worsened the living conditions of Ghanaians through high electricity tariffs, frequent power outages, and inflation, which has made it difficult for Ghanaians to survive, contrary to government promising to put people first. He also described the Mahama-led administration's handling of the economy as abysmal, a situation which he argues led government to seek help from the IMF.
It is not surprising that their greatest achievement in this sector has been the creation of ingenious schemes to facilitate the stealing of over 1 billion Ghana cedis from the sector and sharing this loot among themselves and their cronies. With John Mahama's track record, the NPP cannot fathom how the unemployment situation will improve under a future Mahama-led government. It is this outright theft from the public purse, fiscal indiscipline, reckless expenditures, mismanagement of our finances that has presented President Mahama with the unenviable record of being the only leader in Ghana's history to superintend over 3 back-to-back double-digit fiscal deficits. Today, the relative but shaky stability that the president claims we are seeing has been made possible because of the IMF bailout. This simply confirms President Mahama's incompetence and a lack of vision. Ghanaians elected him to do a job. He has failed miserably. He then called on the IMF, who made him agree to all kinds of conditions before they offered their help. Now Ghanaians have to endure hardship and suffering brought about by the austerity measures of the IMF. After all, President Mahama agreed with the IMF as one condition of the bailout to lay off public sector workers starting from 2017. The 2015 agreement report spells this out clearly, and I quote, "The government will undertake, with the assistance of development partners, a comprehensive plan to rationalize the size and increase the efficiency of civil service and allied services on the payroll. The related strategic plan will be ready in December 2015, the results of which will inform the actual rationalization of staff, which is expected to begin in 2017. You may refer to the 2015 IMF country report number 15/103, page 17, subheaded Civil Service Reform. Rationalization is another way of saying retrenchment, layoffs, or downsizing. Whichever way you call it is the same difference. Go home. People will be laid off. What this simply means is that the current freeze on employment in the public sector will not be lifted to give jobs to Ghanaians. Instead, the grand plan is to rob public sector workers of their jobs in 2016.
Boache Ejako also believes an MPP government led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will restore prosperity to the people of Ghana.
It is with one eye on this abysmal performance of the president that the voters of Ghana must view the credibility of the long list of promises delivered at the weekend from a government that has no policy credibility and had to run to the IMF in 2014 for some limited injection of credibility from that external body. Just last week, Ghana was compelled to come out effectively to admit to a newspaper publication that in order to pay salaries for September, it had to take back almost $500 million Ghana cedis allocated to the various ministries and departments for their work. Among this was 200 million the Treasury took back from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, meant to construct roads and pay contractors for work already done. The future under another Mahama term would indeed be bleak. From their own resource allocation, the next 4 years, for the next 4 years, the likely scenario is that we are very likely not to have any money to pay our salaries. We can't do what others are doing, and many others take for granted. We can have schools that work, decent homes, good jobs with good incomes for those willing to work, roads that are motorable, and a public service system that works. This is the solution. These are the solutions the MPP is putting on the table, and I say, yes, we can, yes, we must. In my capacity as policy advisor to the NPP presidential candidate, I wish to assure all Ghanaians that in Nana Akufo-Addo, you will have a competent, incorruptible, selfless, honest, and a compassionate leader with a competent and disciplined team to deliver on the solutions to our nation's problem. Change is coming. Yes. Change is coming. Yes, yes we can. Yes, we must. Change is coming. Yes, we can. Yes, we must. But it is up to you and I to make that change happen.
Still on some election-related news, the Electoral Commission has suspended the voter transfer exercise at Kukwum in the Bono Ahafo region. This follows violent clashes between some supporters of the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party after the office of the NPP in the area was invaded by men believed to be supporters of the governing NDC. The clashes led to an official sustaining cutlass wounds. The Asunafo South EC office was also ransacked by the unidentified men, and some electoral logistics were destroyed in the process. Let's still stay on some election-related news. The Progressive People's Party has sued the Electoral Commission and government through the Attorney General over fees set by the Commission for presidential and parliamentary hopefuls. The defendants have 8 days from Monday, September 19, to respond to the suit. Policy advisor to the party, Kofi Asamoah-Sian, has been telling Joy News editor Izolaye the rationale behind the move.
First of all, we think that the fees charged by the Electoral Commission are too high. And the reason why...
Which of them? Is it the presidential or the parliamentary?
Both presidential and parliamentary filing fees. And the reason that the EC has unfettered powers to charge these fees is the absence of a regulation that must guide, the Constitution uses the word, must govern the determination of these amounts. If you read the laws relating to these filing fees, PNDC Law 284 and PNDC Law 285. In fact, in PNDC Law 284, the EC is required to make regulation in determining the filing fee. In the case of 285 for presidential elections, they are supposed to announce fees determined by the commission or directed by the commission. We are of the opinion that these two powers conferred on the commission constitute a discretionary power because it gives an unlimited opportunity for the EC to announce any figure at any time. So that is a discretionary power. We fast-track that to read Article 296 of the Constitution, where it states that the exercise of the discretionary powers must be in consonance with a constitutional instrument or a statutory instrument. That is missing in this discussion, and that is why we believe that the figures announced by the EC are arbitrary, unrealistic, capricious, and the court must so determine that, and also order the EC not to take such fees, since they are determined in the absence of this law, which is required by the 1992 Constitution.
Now, the Alliance for Accountable Governance, AFAG, says the filing fee increment by the Electoral Commission is synonymous to selling the leadership of this nation to the highest bidders. The group contends the Electoral Commission's decision would hinder the growth of democracy and also contest the authenticity of people who intend leading this country. Among other questions, the pressure group wants to know how the EC arrived at the 10,000 and 50,000 cedis figure for parliamentary and presidential candidates respectively, and what the funds would be used for. AFAG believes this move by the EC is potentially dangerous and would only result in disaster in the near future if it is not properly addressed. In a statement signed by the group, it says the move by the Commission is highly likely to relegate genuine patriotism and promote monetization of the electoral system, which may begin to create a rich-poor political environment and create apathy among resource-poor patriotic Ghanaians towards the democratic process. AFAG is therefore calling on the EC and the relevant stakeholders to review this decision as soon as possible to protect Ghana's democracy. Away from election-related news, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is threatening to sue the European Union if what has become known as dirty diesel refined for countries in Africa is not seized. The fuel, mainly sourced from Europe, is being blamed for several health complications and frequent breakdown of engines in African countries that import the fuel. Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Duncan Amoah, hinted though the regulator, the National Petroleum Authority, is finding excuses to dismiss the matter, it will not rest until this matter is resolved.
We have indicated previously, we are petitioning the European Union in a strongly worded communique that says Africans are also human beings. So you cannot have African standards that allows you to do, very high sulfur contents, whilst your jurisdictions, you would not allow anything above 10 ppm. We are doing 3,000, you are comfortable with it. We should kill ourselves, you are comfortable with it. You do not have any problem, but you will come and give Africans grants. We speak Bost is quiet. One of the largest importers is quiet. As we speak, the NPA is still finding a way to make excuses for why we are not moving to the low sulfur level limits that the Ghanaian would expect to see. Indeed, it wouldn't just be the chamber, but I can assure you that the very major key stakeholder organizations also affected by petroleum issues. The AGI, candidly, wouldn't also be left off, Industries are affected. The GPRTU is affected directly if their engines will have to go for servicing every now and then. So we are not ready to change, but we will force and ensure that within the shortest possible time, Ghana moves away from the very high sulfur content diesel products that we have, which is destroying people's engines and destroying the environment. You can count on it that further and more pressure will be brought not only onto the policymaker but onto the system itself to ensure that there's the kind of change that Ghanaians are asking for. Most people are peeved on the streets. If you ask them, how come we are supplying, low-grade products, but if you check the pricing index, Ghana is even paying much higher than the United States, which is supplying ultra-low sulfur products.
The establishment of more chip compounds in the 66 coastal districts of the Western region by the Jubilee Partners has contributed to saving the lives of people in the remotest parts of the region. Under the program, well-trained community health assistants and volunteers are deployed to the communities to provide timely and basic health care support for the people. Western region correspondent Kweku Owusu-Prepra has more.
Access to healthcare in the hardest to reach areas in the Western region has been remarkably improved as more than 500 communities have now functioning CHIP centers, which has brought timely but basic health services to the residents. Through home visits and periodic center visits, communities are served and educated on the basic health issues, sanitation, and supported to adopt healthy living practices which have saved a lot of lives in the remote communities.
Because of the CHIPS compound, you have been visiting them, educating them the need for them to go to a clinic when they are pregnant, then to take their drugs. We give them a lot of education, and because of that, the lives of the people have been changed. And now when somebody is pregnant, that person gets to know that, no, it is time I have to go to a clinic to see for medical care.
Through the support of the Jubilee Partners and JAPAIGO, community health officers and community health volunteers have been trained to provide life-saving services in the impoverished communities where the nearest health facility is sometimes several kilometers away. Kofi Blay has been working as a community health officer at Nyamebetre for the past 4 years.
Because of the home visits, those who have not been going for weighing and other things, you go, you find them. Those who are due for vitamin A, we give them. And then those who are not going to, when the time is due, we call them or you visit them in their house. Then you provide the necessary vaccine that they need. And this has helped so much that the people are so happy with the work that you're doing. Besides that, when people are sick, at first they have to travel for very long distance. But now somebody can even pick the phone and then call me to come to the house to take care of the person. And the people are so proud of such activities.
Through the CHIPS program, outpatient attendance in the communities have increased tremendously. Again, more families have accepted family planning concepts, with more children getting fully vaccinated against the childhood killer diseases. Dr. Apia Dentra is the Director General of the Ghana Health Services.
But basically, you bring in relief to the people in the remote areas. Somebody comes to them who are staying with them, teaches them how to prevent disease. There are certain disease people do not know how it's caused, but somebody is with you and teaching you. The person also links you up to the next level of care. And the person has also been taught how to manage the conditions. And I see that is very good. We are aiming at getting all the electoral areas, 6,500 electoral areas covered. Now we've covered 4,000. And we're expecting that if we have covered 6,000, then the mortality of mothers and children will drop drastically.
Community folks within the 6 coastal districts of the Western region have fully accepted the collaborative work of the Star CHIPS project, with the chiefs and elders in these communities providing support for workers in the CHIPS compounds to function well.
Yeah, Santa no main hospital bia. Intinia Brewo hospital apomden. Inti akama kuma am dim sika 2,500, which is 250 million. Now I'm sit down kronum. And I'm a DBA CHIP company. I'm salary 50 million. I'm salary cotton no me dibe gu na fedia me ya na Star CHIPS for ni jipago for. Ombo so ma omubi hospital na mama ya ma fam found.
JAPAIGO and the Jubilee Partners believe every life which has been saved gives meaning to their investments as partners.
My name is Karen Caldwell. I'm the country director for JAPAIGO. Because JAPAIGO has worked in Ghana for more than 20 years now, working to improve the lives and health of women and children in the country. For us, this was a natural partnership because really at the community is where you're going to help save the lives of women and children. That's where the impact is. And so our contribution was in the form of training health workers, training community health management committees, working with management teams at the district and the regional level, providing equipment to CHIPS compounds, and making sure that all of the necessary elements to make CHIPS function are in place.
Without the work of the funders and the hard-working community health workers, several thousands of people would have died within the 5 years in communities like Nyamibetre, Akwadai, and Angonakrom here in the Western region. Kwaku Owusu-Pepra, Joy News, Takoradi.
That's how we end the news on the AM show today. When we come back, Roland and I will be bringing you some news in the newspapers as well as on some online portals. Don't forget you can get interactive with us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We are Joy News on TV. On WhatsApp, our number is 0560 800,000. We'll be back shortly.